What's going on, baseball fans? How you doing? So in my last video, I talked about some surprising players so far this year. You can find that video up here somewhere. But in this video, I'm going to talk about some disappointing players. Let's go talk about it. Starting off my list at number 10, I have Cody Bellinger. It feels like forever now since we have seen that MVP season back in 2019 from Cody Bellinger. I mean, look at these numbers that he had that year. He hit 305, a 406 on base, a 629 slugging, 47 home runs, 115 RBIs. Are you kidding me? What a great year that was. But ever since then, it just feels like he has not been able to find that same groove. Only hit 239 in 2020. He was injured last year a lot. But, I mean, look at the batting average. Only hit 165. He came alive in the playoffs a little bit, but it has not carried over to this year. He's only hitting 206, a 275 on base, a 388 slugging. My goodness, Cody Bellinger. But if you go take a look at his value at the moment, through a little more than a third of the way through the season, he is worth $5.6 million. Now, if you were to stay on that pace for the rest of the season, he'll probably be worth around maybe like 14 to 15 million. So, and this year he's going to be getting 17 million for his salary, but I don't know, man. Bellinger, these are not the numbers that we expect from him. And actually, if we were to go look at those values again, look back in 2019, he was worth $61.7 million. I mean, look at the drop off. Like, that is just incredible to me. I'm really hoping Bellinger can find his footing for this year, but to me, he's just been extremely disappointing. At number 9, I have Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien, man, he got paid this past offseason. He got a 7-year deal, $175 million total, an AAV of $25 million. But with the pace that he's on right now, he will not be worth $25 million. I'll get to that here in just a second. Look at the numbers so far. Only hitting 224, a 287 on base, a 346 slugging, and a WRC plus of only 83, 6 home runs. He has been hitting a little bit better lately. In the month of June, through 14 games, he's hitting 300, 5 homers, 8 RBIs. So it looks like maybe he's starting to get his groove back a little bit. We're going to have to pay attention, but as of right now, Marcus Semien, through a little more than a third of the way through the season, he's worth $6.7 million. If he keeps up that pace for the rest of the year, we're looking at around probably 17, 18 million. But, you know, considering the fact that he has an AAV of 25 million, he's at this rate, he will underperform with that contract. To me, Marcus Semien, if you look at the year that he had last year with the Blue Jays, he bet on himself last year, took a 1-year deal, and my goodness, he had a heck of a year. He had 45 home runs, 102 RBIs, a 334 on base, a 538 slugging. A great year for Semien, and he deserved that big old contract that he got. But to me, I think these numbers are pretty disappointing so far. At number 8, I have Alec BOHM, the former first-round pick back in 2018, number 3 overall. Alec BOHM continues to struggle this season. Remember, not too long ago, Philly fans were booing him. He said he hated this place. Well, I don't see how Philly fans could be feeling any better about Alec BOHM because he continues to struggle. I mean, the numbers have improved. I will give him that, but he has an on-base below 300. He has a slugging below 400, only an 80 WRC plus, 4 homers. I mean, this is a guy, you know, highly touted prospect coming up. Had a really good year in his rookie year in that shortened season, but last year, really not that great. This year, he's just gotten off to a really bad start. Actually, I will say this. In the first month, he was hitting pretty well. He hit 308 that first month over the 20 games, but then started to digress in May. Over 28 games, only hit 252, and so far through 12 games, he's only hitting 204 in June. I don't know what's going on with BOHM, man, and the defense has just been terrible this year. If we actually go take a look here at the fielding leaders for third baseman, Alec BOHM, I mean, that was a big reason why he was getting booed, because he was just making errors all over the place. Alec BOHM, at the moment, has just been horrible. When we look at defensive runs saved, he is right at the bottom. He has negative 11 defensive runs saved. He has a negative 2.1 UZR. He's not really doing anything with the bat. He's not doing anything really with the glove. To me, I think Alec BOHM, and when you consider, yes, he is only making $715,000 for his salary for this year. You got to remember, he had a big old signing bonus when he got drafted 3rd overall. He's just not really living up to his value, or to what he should be. If you take a look at his value this year, he's only worth negative 1.8 million. That's not going to cut it, man. We got to start improving here. Alec BOHM, I will cut him a little slack, still a young player, but I'm really hoping Alec BOHM can start getting it going for the Phillies. At number 7, I have Jesse Winker. Last year, Jesse Winker was getting MVP votes. What the heck has happened here with Jesse Winker? My goodness, he was so good with the Reds last year. Over 61 games. This year, though, he's only hitting .214 with 4 homers, a .326 on base. That's not terrible, but it could be a lot better. A .308 slugging, a .94 WRC+. I don't know. These are just not really great numbers. When him and Eugenio Suarez came over to the Mariners this past offseason, people were thinking, man, this lineup is going to be really good. And it actually has been pretty good this year. But Jesse Winker, he could do a lot better here. He has been pretty much non-existent in this lineup. And, you know, funny enough, with Jesse Winker, he's always been better against righties. He's not really been very good at all in his career against lefties. If you actually take a look at his career numbers against righties, over 456 games, he's hit 299 against them, while only 196 against lefties. And if you actually take a look here at his 2022 splits, he's actually been hitting lefties better this year than he has against righties. So I don't know what the heck is going on here with Jesse Winker. If you take a look at his value, he's worth negative $1.6 million. And funny enough, actually, right before I started recording this, it was reported that Jesse Winker and the Mariners had agreed to a 2-year, $14.5 million contract. So AAV is at $7.3 million. But right now, has a negative value. So I don't know, man. He's not really living up to that contract as of right now. Hopefully he can get things turned around, but I think he's been a huge disappointment so far. At number 6, I have Spencer Torkelson. Listen, it was a little tough for me to put Torkelson on this list, considering he is still a rookie. I don't like to go too tough on the rookies, but considering the type of player that Torkelson was regarded as coming out of the 2020 draft, I mean, people were saying this was the most advanced hitter they had ever seen coming out of the draft. He had that much hype behind him, and look how quickly he got to the major leagues. Only 1 year in the minors. Take a look at his numbers from last year. He spent all year in the minors last year, from A to AA to AAA. Overall, he hit .267 with a .383 on base, a .552 slugging. He had 30 homers, 91 RBIs. He walked a very good amount, 77 walks last year. Torkelson, I do think he is going to be the real deal, but these numbers are looking pretty bad so far. And again, I know he's a rookie, but I just expected more here. Overall, he's only hitting .178, a .276 on base, a .287 slugging, a .67 WRC+, 4 homers, a negative 9.4 offense. That's just crazy to see, considering the type of player he was coming out of that draft, how good he did in the minor leagues last year. He's just having a tough time right now. He's basically getting on-the-job training. You don't see a lot of players spend 1 year in the minor leagues. A couple of players that come to mind, Alex Bregman, Benintendi, I think, was only there for around a year. There have been some players who didn't really spend that much time in the minor leagues that came up and had success. And Torkelson, not having success, I thought he just would be a little bit better than this. I'm not expecting crazy numbers. I'm not, saying here he should be at, 25 homers already. I'm not saying that, but I just would think a bit better. And to me, when you look here, actually, this one is pretty daunting if you ask me. As of right now, Torkelson is the worst valued player in all of Major League Baseball, according to Fangraphs. He has a negative $6.6 million value. Considering the signing bonus that he got, $8.4 million signing bonus, and he's worth negative $6.6 million. I mean, this is a terrible value for the Tigers right now, considering the money that they spent. Torkelson, I do think he is going to turn this around. I mean, this guy, there's a reason he has been regarded as, one of the next best hitters. I do think he will get to that. I was thinking here, I was going to see a little bit more at this point. At number 5, I have Robbie Ray. Earlier, we talked about Marcus Semien getting himself a nice big contract this past offseason. Well, Robbie Ray, he did the same thing. 5 years, $115 million. That's an AAV of $23 million per season. Robbie Ray, he was actually pretty good against my Red Sox his last time out, but overall this year, he's been disappointing. 13 starts, a 4.52 ERA, a 4.60 FIP. I mean, these are not the numbers that we were expecting, especially after coming off of a Cy Young season with the Blue Jays last year. I mean, look at his numbers that he had last year. He had 32 starts, a 2.84 ERA, a 3.69 FIP. Now, that's where I did think Ray was going to kind of regress a little bit. I didn't think he was going to put up these similar kind of numbers. I was expecting an ERA 3.5 to 4, but this is a little higher than what I thought it was going to be. And this is a Mariners team that they were looking to come into this season and be contenders in that West, and they've just fallen completely out of that race. They're still hanging around in the wild card picture a little bit, but Robbie Ray, he's going to need to step it up. But overall, so far, these numbers have not been that great. And if you actually take a look here at the values among starting pitchers, Robbie Ray is the 9th worst value among all starting pitchers right now, 3.4 million. That's on pace to be around maybe like 8 to 9 million, considering he's going to be making 23 million this year. I mean, my goodness, Robbie Ray, we got to pick up the pace, my friend. This has been a disappointing showing so far for the Mariners. At number 4, I have Aroldis Chapman. I could see Yankee fans saying he's been a disappointment ever since putting on the pinstripes, but this year in particular, no bueno if you ask me. 17 games, a 3.86 ERA. That FIP was at a 5. And I know he has been on the IL recently with the Achilles, so I'm going to back off a little on that. But before that, these are just not great numbers. And actually, if we take a look at the strikeouts and the walks, his strikeouts were way down from last year. His walks were actually really up last year, and they've gone up even more this year. So, my goodness, Aroldis Chapman, what the heck is going on? But if you take a look at his value for this year, he's actually in the negatives. As of right now, he's at a negative 0.9 million. And if we take a look at his AAV, he's right now on a 3-year, $48 million contract, AAV of 17.5. He has just not been worth it this year. Luckily, the Yankees bullpen has just stepped up in a huge way this year. They've been very good without him. Clay Holmes, Michael King, to just name a couple. But Aroldis Chapman, when he comes back, he should be back probably maybe a little after the All-Star break, I would imagine. It says here, or a couple days ago, he did throw off a bullpen or threw off a bullpen mound. So hopefully when Chapman comes back, he can be, kind of get back to his old form a little bit. But if he stays on this pace, man, oh boy, he is not going to be worth it at all. So far to me, I think he's one of the bigger disappointments in the game. At number 3, I have YASMANI GRANDAL. I'm going to be honest here. It's not just YASMANI GRANDAL, but it's for the entire White Sox team this year. What the heck happened to the White Sox? This is a good team, but YASMANI GRANDAL, man, he's been one of the better catchers in the game going back the last few years, and he is just having a very poor season. Look at the numbers here. Through 50 games, he's only hitting 185, a 294 on base, a 237 slugging, a 61 WRC plus, only 2 homers. I mean, look at the numbers that he had last year. Hit 240. He had a 420 on base percentage and a 520 slugging, a 159 WRC plus. He had 23 homers. I mean, his numbers are just way down this year. And actually, if you take a look here, he is the worst offensive catcher in Major League Baseball this year among catchers with the qualified amount of plate appearances. But Grandal, man, he has just really fallen off. If you take a look at his value, he's worth negative 1.8 million. And if you take a look at his AAV, 18.3 million. He is underperforming in a huge way this year, and it's crazy to see because he's been one of the better catchers in the game now for a few years. The White Sox, they are just having a very tough time this year. A lot of bad moments for the White Sox this year, but YASMANI GRANDAL, I think one of the most disappointing parts of that team. At number 2, I have Nick Castellanos, another free agent from this past offseason, makes the list. He got paid some big bucks, 5 years, $100 million. That's an AAV of $20 million per season. But Castellanos is not living up to that contract. Take a look at these numbers so far. Hitting 253, but his on base is only 309, a 401 slugging, a 98 WRC plus, 7 home runs. This is a guy last year with the Cincinnati Reds. He was tearing the cover off the ball. Look at these numbers from last year. Hit 309, a 362 on base, a 576 slugging, a 140 WRC plus, 34 homers, 100 RBIs. My goodness, when the Phillies brought him in, you're thinking, man, this lineup is going to be really good. And well, the Phillies actually have been playing very well lately, but actually, Nick Castellanos has not really been a big part of that. He was pretty good to start things off in the first month of the season. Hit 300, a 374 on base, 475 slugging, OPS of 849, WRC plus of 137. So got off to a good start, but he has just been backtracking ever since then. In May, his WRC plus dropped to a 90, and so far in June, it's down to a 47. He's only hitting 217 this month. Nick Castellanos, as of right now, you got to remember also with him, he's going to be just more of a bat. He's not really great in the field, so that's already going to hurt his value. But when he's not performing with the bat, I mean, that's just makes it even worse. He's worth negative 2.2 million. Like, my goodness, he is underperforming in a huge way. Imagine if he can start getting it going. I mean, and how good the Phillies are playing lately. I mean, watch out. I mean, I think he will start to heat up, but to me, this is pretty disappointing. And coming in at number 1, I have Javier Baez. Yes, another free agent from this past offseason. Javier Baez signed the big bucks with the Tigers. I thought Carlos Correa was going to be a Tiger for sure. And then all of a sudden, the Tigers signed Javier Baez. And I'm thinking, what the heck just happened? He signed a big deal. 6 years, $140 million, $23.3 million AAV. Well, look at what he did with the Mets. Before we go over his numbers, look what he did here with the Mets. He was with the Cubs to start things off, and then remember at the deadline, he went to the Mets. He did really good with them. 47 games, hit .299, a .371 on base. That on base was so much higher than it ever had been in his career. A .515 slugging, 9 homers, 22 RBIs. He was playing some great defense for them, and that's what helped get him that big old contract with the Tigers, and he has just been awful this year. Look at these numbers. Over 50 games. Only hitting 188, a .232 on base, a .288 slugging, a 47 WRC plus, only 3 homers. He's only driven in 16 runs. And actually, if we take a look here on Fangraphs, when you're looking at the offensive rankings, he is the worst offensive player in all of Major League Baseball this year. That blows my mind, considering, Javier Baez has never really been much of an on-base kind of a guy, but he's had good slugging percentages in the past. He has been someone that can hit some home runs, drive in some runs, play some good defense. He is playing some decent defense this year, but that bat has been extremely underwhelming. Javier Baez, to me, has been the biggest disappointment in Major League Baseball so far. So that's my list. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Did I leave anyone off that you think should be on? Let me know. Do you think someone should be up higher on this list, down lower? Let me know what you think. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.